Hello, everybody, and welcome to In the Dog Bowl. I am your host, Georgette Taylor, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today. I have an amazing guest today. His name is Akari Hanzo. He is a sculptor, painter, and doll artist. He creates a beautiful African American, one of a kind dolls that are historical, history makers, and are icons. And so I'm so excited to have you here with me today, Akari. Thank you for joining us on In the Dog Bowl.
No, thank you for having me.
Yes, I've been so excited to talk to you about your work and your journey to you creating these beautiful, iconic dolls. So, can you just share with us a little bit about you and how did your journey get started in creating dolls?
Okay. I'm just a self-taught artist. I've always created, since I was a kid.
Hmm.
Um, it started with writing. Like my grandmother, she had the typewriter, and she would just, say, tell her the story, whatever it is, and she would type it out. And then when I would go visit her, then I come home and I could read it, to
Oh,
my
that is
mom.
so
Or, yeah.
cool.
My dad could draw. So I would ask my dad, yeah, teach me.
Hmm.
And what he did was one day he said, okay, fine. And he drew a stick figure and he gave it to me. He said, now fill in the lines. So um, yeah, but I've always been, it started there. I always drew and wrote, but me and my brother were always, whenever we saw something, we just like, oh, we could do it. So it was like,
Hmm.
we saw music, we went and did it. And we just had fun just creating. So it wasn't like,
Hmm.
oh, we're going to be big and famous. It was just
Right.
like, look, we did this last night, or we made this song last night. We made this music last night. We made this comic book. We wrote out a whole little script for a little movie. It's like you just like to create,
Yeah.
and after a while, it's just years for years. I just did it at the job. People would see me just always making something. So the sculpting came in. Um, well, truthfully, I could just always sculpt too, but
Really? Wow.
yeah, like if you just put something in front of me, you'll
Mm.
get something. Like I just make things. It doesn't.
Hmm.
That's what I say. It doesn't matter like the medium. Even when it came down to clay, like, and I'm thinking about it, is like I remember sculpting on the job,
Hmm.
when I just get a little piece of clay out there, I sculpt an animal with clothing or whatever. And then my daughter one day, she just at the time passed. My daughter one day just had a piece of clay the teacher just gave her, and
Hmm.
while I was sitting there, she was talking to me. I just sculpted a whole cat and walked out. Like I didn't even realize it, but she's sitting there. So it was like I just naturally like to do these
Wow.
things.
That is
So
so
when I
cool though.
thank you. But when it came to like the figures, my wife,
Hmm.
it literally happened because we went to a comic book store, and we were just walking around just looking at things. We just happened to go in a comic book store just looking around,
Hmm.
and we didn't collect um dolls or figures
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
So you did
Other than
not.
stuff that,
Okay.
yeah, we weren't collectors like that. She saw, it was after Heath Ledger died from
Hmm.
the actor.
Right.
She's like
Hmm.
Monsters Ball and a Dark Knight. So she was like, oh man, there was a Joker piece that she's like, should I get that? They didn't make memorabilia like that back then for everybody, like they
Hmm.
do now. So I was
Right.
like, yo, get it. It may be worth something.
Right.
She let it sit. But when I looked at it, I saw all the detail and clothing and all of that in there. And that just sent me down a rabbit hole. I went, oh, now I want a piece. And I said, looked around and couldn't find any, African American um, figurines.
Hmm.
Only one I could find like says Blade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
yeah, Blade. It was like action hero, but it was like
Hmm.
nothing made me start
Historical or
going.
anything? Okay.
Nothing historical. So for me, it was like, well, I want a piece. Like, so, I wanted to do, I remember the first one I wanted to make was Snoop from The Wire. And I was like, I just shot way past like expectations. Like, I want Snoop from The Wire. Like, she would just be a bad piece just to see,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
when people come in my house, they see it. That's what it was like. People come out to go, wow, like, where'd you get Snoop from The Wire? I made it. Like, that's how I
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
things like that. So, but my skill set wasn't even there. Clothing, the hair, none of that.
Hmm.
But when I decided I want to do it, I said, I'm gonna sculpt this, but how would I do it that small? Went to Amazon and said, you know what tools can I use? What can I use for
Hmm.
tools? Sculpting something that small, maybe dental tools. Ordered the dental tools. Turns out I was right on the money with those.
Wow.
And what I did was I just started sculpting at my desk at work every day, and then coming home at night and sculpting some more in that scale. And then from when I realized I couldn't do her, it turned into, okay, well, I can't do her.
Hmm.
Okay, what other pieces can I try?
Right.
And then it was like, well, what else would be cool? Oh, wow. A Fred Sanford, or like things just to make you, when you come in my house, just go, what the heck is a little Fred Sanford, a little Richard Pryor? Well, you know, and but then my wife had like, I started thinking about like just deeper things or more cooler things. And my wife had like put me on the James Baldwin from like watching debates and stuff. So I was like, man, what about little James Baldwin? That'd be cool. Okay, James Baldwin. Okay, what about Silly from The Color Purple? Or I just started thinking of things that we would never see.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Versus what's cool, just cool. Is like, no, I want to have something you would never see. And what happened was I was going around looking for the guy like to teach me, like say who, or the lady to teach me. Right. To say, okay, who's doing this? You know, just tell me where I can go, because I was in the 1/6 scale hobby. I thought that was like, you know, how I would find out. And I would see these other artists there and I would ask them and they wouldn't share any information with me because I didn't know how to paint and like, where are you getting your clothing from?
Yes,
how you
important,
yeah, like how are you making these things? Because I see, you know, how you, but okay, there are artists you go to. Okay, go to the artist. I'm asking them questions. They wouldn't respond because it was like they're keeping these things secret. So I was just on YouTube. I don't know how I stumbled across it, but I stumbled across this guy, and he did like horror figures, and I was like, okay, you know. But the thing about it wasn't even doing the horror figures. It was, I see him making these things in his house. His kids are running around in the background. He's watching his kids all day, but everybody's going crazy for these pieces. But the level of detail he's giving them, he has clothing and all that. So, so his name was Montwain Gonzalez. And I hit him up and I said, look, sir, like, do you have time to talk? Like talk, not just go over. And he said, yeah. He said, here. And then I literally ran out my job on break. And I sat in the car and I called him. And it turned out he had already checked me out on Instagram, because I just posted everything every day. Okay. Even when I started drawing, when I was at work and I started drawing, I was like, I started posting stuff. So everything you could see at work, and he had already started looking at it. So he was like,
cool. So he knew you then. He knew at least.
Yeah, he just happened to look, I guess because the community was so small. Like, it's a difference between the guys that start making things and then the guys that, but I had already like made a couple things that stand out. Like, so in that community. So like I did a George Jefferson. No, I just like things people would never see. George Jefferson, Fred Sanford. These are things are even those guys, and most majority of them aren't even African American. Most of these were white guys. They were like, wow, George Jefferson, JJ, Jerome from Martin. And you know, then I'll do like a Wolverine or like a comic book thing, because that's something that I came, because that's where I came from. But it was like, oh, I can have fun. And I was doing it for my son. I was like, let me see if I can make, you know, something cool for my son. And my son would go, yeah. It was new.
That's what kids do.
Yeah. It's like you do this all the time, right? Yeah. So, but me, I'm sitting there like trying to get his approval. And he's like, I didn't understand. And now it's like, I know it's like, bruh, like this is every day you make something. So like for us to be impressed, we're not, you know. And
so funny. So what time was that you were talking when you were making the Jefferson style? Around what time?
Now it's probably going on maybe 7 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
And so it started on the internet. And when I talked to my twin and he saw that, he said, wow, like your sculpting is actually better than mine when I started. And he said, he said, look, don't stop. Please don't stop. He said, then he started he started giving me the advice. Like, look, to do this, you want to be a one-stop shop. He said, I had my wife, I started with my wife. I had my wife just working on making pants for me, or just, you know, making this certain outfit for me. And he was like, you want to be a one-stop shop. So if someone like it, because you don't want to have a person that you rely on to do something, and then they decide they don't want to do it for you, and they'll pull it right from under you.
That's right.
So yeah, and he was like, look, he wouldn't let me get off the phone, because he kept saying, look, I don't want to let you get off until I made sure, like, I told you everything that I figured out to get you started. And I was like, wow. So, and once he did, like I said, he gave me all the information, and I just stuck to that template. And I kept watching his videos, because they literally would give me inspiration. Because like I said, I'm seeing him do it in his house, watching his children, watching his sister's kids. You just hear all this stuff going on in the background while he's sitting there trying to explain to you this piece he made and all that. But you see it's clear, like his babies there. Like he'll sit there just talk to his daughter in the middle of like, can I have a sandwich? Can I have a piece of your sandwich? Or you'll see her sleeping and like she fall asleep and nap on the floor next to him. And it's like, it's real. It was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like this dude is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was like, I just want to make it. It wasn't about something to sell. But what I had an idea of it was, oh wow, like look at him. He's selling these things because he's doing horror, which is an untapped thing.
Right.
And they have hardcore people and they were losing their mind in the communities. And I was seeing it. So that's where I started in like the 1/6 scale community. I started getting noticed right away because I was doing nothing but, you know, black figurines where they had all white. So I would show a Rakim and they go crazy. I'd show, you know, whoever I came up with, they had a response to because none of the other artists were making them. They were all making the same thing.
The same thing, yeah.
Heath Ledger Joker, Marvel superheroes, movies primarily only men like wanted, like saw. So it was like the things I was picking were already just capturing off. So while the other top tier artists in that group were making noise, I automatically got like elevated to that making noise level, even if I had, even when I had less skill.
Right.
But that community still was like, I saw like, it still was like, look, nobody wants to share anything. Kind of toxic.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's a bunch of like, it's really because there's not that many women over there in that community. So it's like a majority of days just you buy a piece and just pick it apart. Like get something that's beautiful, but you find some way in there to say, but this is what I don't like about it. And it was like, man, my thing is like, unless you make it, like I can see if you made it, you can go pick apart things. But these people like put their heart and their soul in these things for you to be like, oh, I don't like the laces. And it's like,
really?
But then you said before that it's a perfect figure.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like,
What's
so
the
that's
got to do with that? You know?
Yeah, it's like you totally are nitpicking, and I would be saying to them, I say, look, so you're gonna make a better lace, or you're gonna fix the solution, and it's like, no, we're gonna go and ask them to. It's like, no, you do it, like, because me, I didn't see black figurines, I didn't go online saying, where are they? Why don't we have them? I said, you know what? I'm gonna go make it myself. If I don't see it, I'll go make them for me. If nobody else is begging for these things,
right,
I'm gonna have them in my house. No, I won't go without. So, but what that did was it led me over to the Dow community. And when I went over to the Dow community, that's where I saw like, wow, like it's positive. It's more of encouragement. It's people expressing themselves and people encouraging to express themselves and sharing information. I remember I saw someone do locks, and they did them from different what I did. And I said, wow, these locks are better. I said, how can I do this? And I remember they sent me this whole bunch of information, and I was like, what? Like they're sharing it freely? And like that blew my mind. But at the same time, when I was doing it, they were like supporting it, you know, when I show my pieces, the reaction, because I just like to show things like, hey, look, guys, look what I'm working on. What are you working on? Oh, wow, let me see what you're working on. And then that makes me go back and work harder on mine.
Right.
Because it's like for me, it's like steel sharpening steel. It's like,
because you can
wow,
figure
look
out
how
a
you
way
pulled
to
it.
refine it now.
Yeah,
see it, right?
Especially when you see other people, like you're like, man, that's dope. It's inspiration. So it's like, it's not me wanting to be better than you. It's me. I came from like a hip hop, and we were like 10 guys in a basement. We were all right at the same time, trying to outdo each other, but not trying to like crap on each other. So, but we like that thing. It's like it literally was making us better.
Making you better.
So I carried that over into this. It was like, oh wow, you did that. Oh, then I run back to the drawing board. You know, just happy like to see creation. But for me, it was like, I want to create more, and like nothing stopping me. So it's like, let me think outside the box. Let me think of, you know, I see what everybody else is doing here, but I know what I haven't seen. Let me throw this in the mix, you know, and then maybe I'll bring out the person that's doing what I'm doing, so they can, you know, show me more. And everybody go, it's you. And I go, no. He or she has to be here so I can go get the rest of, you know, the information. Where are they? And they were like, it's you. And then that's when
you had to lead it, right?
Yeah. And when I realized that, I was like, oh wow. Then that's when the responsibility came in to me. It was like, oh damn, now this is a responsibility. So now what I pick now, there's even more of a purpose in it. I still operate as making them for me, but I know that we'll connect because there's not one way I can make all these Black people, and none of them, there's not one person's going to say, I love this person. Right. It's like an album. Like, I love this one track. Like, I know I had that, and that's where we connect because it's us. So it's going to be somewhere we connect. And like I tell people, like, I don't make these things with the intention. I didn't make them with the intention to sell. I made them to show, you see these exist. These are all what ifs. What if they gave us these things? What if we had these things when we were a kid? It was like a statement, like, and doing them at the level I do them was, what if we had them done at this level? What ifs? All my stuffs were what ifs. And then when I saw like the responses to people like walking by, looking in the window, and I saw like the impact it had, that even let me know even more, like, oh wow, so there was a hunger for this. Right. Like it made me think even deeper about it, because I didn't realize how much, like for me, I said I look for it, and it was like, oh, I can't find it, I'm gonna make it. But that's how I operate. Is I don't see it, I'll go do it myself. Anything I don't see it, I'll do it myself for myself. Most people can't just go and just start sculpting right away or go right, whatever. Exactly. So and so that's what made me go, you know what, I'm gonna make these. Fortunately, I looked up and got the space, but I could have them out in front, and kids can walk by. Anybody can walk by and see them. And like, if no one purchased a piece, like I'm happy at the end of the day, because my purpose is I want these things to be seen. Right. Because my end game is to have it normalized to where we see these as normal things, so they won't be so like shocking, right? To see. Yeah, and it's an everyday thing then. It becomes it's an everyday thing that's normalized. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Like me, when I grew up, I had Luke Skywalker, and He-Man, Yes. Now, I mean, Billy D. Williams was one figure out of a line of, all the other Star Wars stuff, but yeah. But I remember as a kid, I played with Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo, and He-Man. Right. So when I think about it, it's like, wow, yeah, you know what? Those things didn't look like me. But here I created a space where it was like, I say, the feeling you had when you walked in Toys R Us. Remember you were a kid and you walked in a toy store, Kitty City, wherever the toy store was at that time for you. Remember walking in that toy store and you see all those toys as a kid and you're like, wow, look at all these toys. I said, now just imagine if you had walked in there and it was just us and you saw you all over the place. Yeah. And that's the feeling I wanted to have and create for people, is it give them that feeling, but it's us. Yeah. Yeah. And and so it invites you in. And then what crazy is, after that, discussions start and deeper conversations start and connection of generations start because of the subjects I choose. Yeah. The subjects you choose are really powerful. We're going to get back to that. I wanted to ask you mentioned your space. So tell us a little bit about your space and how you got into that. I know it's the Cherry Street Pier. I want to hear people to hear that story about how you got into that. Oh yeah, I literally. Oh, thank you. Like I said, I was working on corner of my bed every night or working at work, and what it was after a while, when I realized that I had a skill and it was something that I could do, and like I could see like I could do something with this. I realized I was working at a job. It was like you're making someone else money. You're working, you're killing all your time making them some more money. You have a skill. People have been telling me forever, why are you here? At whatever job it was, they would go, why are you here? But I understood it, why they were saying it. Yeah. But for me, it was like, that's how I can have a work ethic. Right. I'm conditioned to work for other people. For other people, because that's what my grandparents, put in me. Like this art stuff was seen as, you can't make money off it, or it's just a hobby, and we're exactly with it. Get a real job. Exactly. So when I was at the job, after a while, I was there for 5 years, and it was like, 5 years, I haven't got one raise. It wasn't like I was a horrible employee, whatever number metrics they said, I met or exceeded. Right. So for me, after a while, it was, these jobs don't offer tuition reimbursement. It's stuff they started taking away from people. And I said, wow, well, since you took my time, I'm going to take your time and I'm going to learn how to do this. So I sat at my desk, sculpted, practiced on heads. They covered my desk. I said, I'm going to make you fire me. I'm not going to quit because I'll get unemployment, and you're going to set me loose to work 10 hours a day. I only had 8 hours a day on your job. You set me loose. That's unlimited hours a day to work on what I want to work on. Right. But it took them a year to fire me. So after a year, I'd already honed enough skill. I figured out how to get the clothing. that I needed for the pieces I wanted to make. And then me and my wife, some of the stuff we would make from scratch.
Okay.
So it was like after and I honed the skill, like I said, to see where I could go somewhere. And there was a because there was a guy that saw my stuff on Instagram. He asked me to come to his gallery, and he said, "I want to see some of your pieces. Bring them to my gallery." And so I said, "Oh, cool, great." You know, I didn't know what it was going to be. It's totally new. I go to his gallery and I show them to him, and he's like, "What are these?" And I said, "This is what he asked me to bring down." He goes, "Why are they so small? I thought these were big statues of busts." I said, "No, the thing is, I'm a 1/6 scale. It's like about the size of a figure." And he said, "Oh," but then he started realizing. He started looking at who I was making. He was like, "Oh wow, you got a Basquiat. Oh wow, Malcolm X. Do you know how much these things would go for in a gallery?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, and he starts laying down how much prices and things would go for. But me, I was like, it wasn't the money. It was like, wait, in an art gallery? You know, you're telling me I made like y'all accept these things in an art gallery? Because for me, it's gonna be in my house, you know, or I show him. This before I got the space, and he said, "You're gonna have your own space one day." And I said, "What?" I didn't even get like that far in the plan. He said, "You're gonna have your own space one day," but he put in my brain that these. Not put in my brain, but I always seen him as art because I make it.
Right.
But he solidified
kind of validated that in a way.
Yeah, like not just you. Other people would. The other people want to see these things. These things other people would attain. You know, they want to collect. These are art pieces. And so, like I said, I'm at the job. So let the job try to kill it and work. But after a while, they fired me, and I had the skill set.
I would think so. You had dolls all over the desk.
All over, heads. Like you can go on my Instagram and you can see like my early feed. That wasn't my house. That was my desk at work. And I don't know how they did. It took them a year, and they didn't fire me for that. It was like I think they were mad. I called out for like one day, and it was like, oh man, we can't have this anymore. And so when they called me in the meeting to fire me, like I'm happy. Like I know I threw them off because they sent this message to me where it was like time for a meeting, and I know like schedule wasn't scheduled meetings.
Right.
So everybody else on the floor looking at me, I'm like, it's time. It's time.
He's like, I'm so
and they're
excited.
Like, time for what? I cleaned out my desk, you know what I mean? And they're looking like, what is he doing? And I got my stuff and I ran down to that room. And when I walked in there, they're filling out they're telling me, here's your paper, you're going to leave, you're going to get on the phone. I'm like, yeah. What else? What I sign? What do I sign? What do I sign? I get it. And they said, the ladies, the one said, she said, well, is there any last words you have? Anything you want to suggest to us? I said, I suggest you follow me at the House of Honzo on Facebook. And one of the ladies just laughed at me like I was crazy. She's like, oh, this guy. Right? And I walked out of there with the smile on my face. And literally my wife came to me and said, hey, they're building this thing down. I found out they're building this place down there, Waterfront, from a friend of ours that we had. And she said, yeah, they're going to have studios for artists. And this would be the perfect place for you. But my conditioning was telling me, like, I literally said, they're not going to let my black behind down there. That's for the white people. They're down there on the waterfront. That's their space.
Right, yeah.
And she was like, no, this is the right. She's like, no, this is perfect for you. She said, you want to go to the meeting? Where they're going to just, explain what this thing is being built. And I went to that meeting and I saw the plans and everything and explained I was going to be a new place for art and they're going to breathe into the city. And that's when I said, I saw the vision my wife saw when she heard it. But my brain still was like, they're not going to let me in there with you, because like, they're not going to get it. So what I did was I applied with a white friend that we got the information from, because I figured that information wasn't meant for me. That was meant for that white person to get. And you just, because you're around her, she shared it with you because she had no problem sharing it with you because she doesn't even understand it. Like it was only intended for her.
Intended for her, right.
Yeah, that was my conditioning. But when I got here and I told them that and I filled out my thing and I went into the interview, they were like, oh my gosh, look at this stuff. This is the detail. This is amazing. And I saw their interest and I said, wow, like y'all get it? And they were like, oh man, this is amazing. And they said, we'll be in touch with you. So I was sitting there sweating for a while. Like, still like, I don't think they're going to let me do it. But I said, but I got a safety net. I applied with that other, I applied to have a shared studio with the white lady so I can ride in there. You see what I'm saying? I was trying to slide in there through the system. It's like, I'm like, oh, I know the system works. So you got to like work the system. So let me
Yes.
slide in there with this white lady, and then I'm
Right.
gonna drop the bomb on her, right? Because then you'll see all of this. See, like I come in there,
The Black Power.
I walk like how I'm dressed now. This is how I dress normally. Oh, but when I had that interview, oh, I had my little messenger bag and my suit jacket on, no hat. I walked in there like I was like a job interview because I had no idea. Like
Right,
I'm
right.
conditioned like this is a job interview. Looking, you know how we do, make ourselves look safe. You know,
Yes, yes,
like there's
yes.
no danger to us.
Non-threatening. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm in there hat in hand, like things I would never do now. Like when I look back
Yes.
and I was like, wow, these are things that I had to break, and it was like, and they're sitting there just accepting the art. They're not even focusing on me. And when they offered me the space, I was like just so happy. And it turned out that was like within a month after the place fired me. So I wasn't even out of that
Wow.
place for a while, like
Wow.
looking around. It was literally like, but that was because but see, this is what I say to people is like that year when I was trying to get them to fire me, I'm not telling everybody to try to make your job fired. But like I said, I was fortunate enough that it lined up that quick. And um, but what I found out, what they said was that there was a person on the panel that after they sent me my name over there, the person was going through all the different artists and they saw what I did and they said, wait, this is what it's about, like the diversity and all that. This guy has to be here. And that person, I guess, had enough say in there for me to be considered to be put in there with the group that already had forwarded me on. And they offered me a space with the other 12 artists here out of Philadelphia on the waterfront. Wow. And since then, and it's like right in public. That's why I said there's all these things going on outside.
Right.
It's a major space, but what I have is a place where people can just walk by and I watch them just stumble onto, you know, just seeing Harriet Tubman in the window or like well, now I have like John Lewis, but like James Baldwin or Tupac back then. It was like, I could just watch people's reaction and and it still happens, but then it was new.
I'm sure. Yeah. But
it's just fun to watch.
So when you came to the space, you were chosen out of probably thousands of artists. So it was 13 artists that were chosen. You were one of them. So when you came to the space, what did you expect there in the space there? Did you expect it to be artists
yeah, I was worried because I was new. Yeah, exactly. Truthfully, I expected to be here with a bunch of other artists that were starving artists, but young starving artists. So I was like, wow, like, what's that going to be? Like, I'm new to this. Like, my work's probably going to be nothing like in compared capacity of what I'm going to see.
Right.
But I didn't realize like what they did. They made careful selections of like different artists with different skill sets and different styles and different mediums.
Oh, so, nice. Okay, that was cool.
Oh yeah, like everybody has a specific medium they choose for, you know, a specific thing. And so when I finally got in here, I was fortunate enough that they put me in with a bunch of people that had already established or did something. So for me, it was like, so they're looking at me like, oh, you the guy. And I'm looking at them like, I'm brand new. You know, I don't know any of this.
Wow.
But you see my work, and I guess like that speaks to the level of the work I'm doing that, you know, you see it, but you think I'm already here. No, I'm new. I'm here. So you guys have been doing X, Y, and Z. You guys have everything down on paper or experience.
Right, yes.
So for me, it was like, wow, it's not going to be young artists. I'm pretty much like fresh energy in here. Now I can learn all this stuff from them because I don't know anything about what's going on here. But they've had like lived all these lives and had experience. So it became like a wealth of information for me.
Like a lot of mentors, you know, that could help.
Yeah. Like a lot of people that they wanted to help me and they wanted to see, they were the ones that kept going, oh man, like, dude, it's just a matter of time. And I go, a matter of time, what? Because I'm not looking for this. I'm just like, hey, I'm not working for nobody no more.
And I would do it on my own, right?
Yeah, like I don't have a boss no more. I'm my own boss. Like I'm just happy to be sitting here and just making these things all day. But okay, how do I sell this to make money to pay for this rent? Like not like on a blow up thing. It's like just how I see you guys have shirts, or what do you sell this for? When you do this work, like I had to get talked to about what to price my stuff. Like they had to tell me, like, look, you're pricing your stuff too low and all that. And I didn't understand it because for me, it was just like, look, I'm just trying to get stuff in the hands of my people. I'm just trying to, make this thing and have a place that people stumble onto. So I'm not promoting it everywhere. I didn't understand, none of that. I'm genuinely just about making, just making dope things and having my people see it and them just feel inspired when they see it. I wasn't thinking about making money until it was like, well, you got to pay for X, Y, and Z. And it was like, well, people are paying me for these things. So I mean, I figured it out, but that wasn't like my primary goal. But I had to figure out how to navigate having your own space. Finally, I got an old business. This art world thing is completely different because not everybody's telling me like pretty much anything I put my hand on is worth something now. Like to have that, it's a
mental thing you have to really
it's like, could you imagine anybody? It's like, can you imagine like somebody's telling you like, it's worth whatever that you were selling that for. Why are you selling it for that? It should be this price. Oh, you touched this. I remember it was a coffee table I had. I bought a see-through coffee table so I can put stuff in it.
Right.
Just for a display.
Right.
A person from a gallery comes in here and they're walking around looking at all the figurines and this other like graphic art I do. And they stop at the table and go, oh, wow. And I'm like, oh, you like this stuff? This is inside the table? They go, this whole table is art. And I go, what do you mean? This is installation. It's a piece of art. This table's worth $2,300. And I said, what are you talking about? And like that's the stuff that like just got thrown on me because I'm in a public space and there's gallery owners and people from all over the world just coming in, seeing my stuff and going, oh my gosh, this guy's so, my sir, it's a matter of time. And they would keep saying it to me like that's what I was waiting on. And I'm asking them like, what are you talking about? And I constantly had that conversation. Like they would tell me, there's this thing coming for me, or wait till you get out of here. It was like a lot of people for the first time, like they're seeing a future for me, which as a Black man in America is crazy that there's a whole bunch of people that don't know you, but they're telling you a positive future. So a lot of that stuff was just blowing my mind. I couldn't even wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Because I guess it's because how I was. It was like, this is, I just like to do it. Like this wasn't made with the intention to blow up.
Right. You're just being the artist that you are, and you're just being the creative, and you're just doing what it is that, like you said, that you enjoy, or you want to find, if you want to create a piece that you want to see. So you don't think past that, it's like,
and share it on Facebook, share it in the dial group, like, hey guys, look. And we all go, hey, good job. And like another person go, good job. That was it. But it let me know. Now. It's a whole different level. And but if it wasn't for that dial community, like I said, if it wasn't for the dial community and me saying like, hey, like these people over here, this group exists, like because it's all positivity, I would have been like, oh man, well, people probably picking apart how I did this glasses. But no, if it wasn't for them, because of them, I got reached out for the Detroit Doll Show, like,
oh nice,
from like, that was like literally as I just got in the studio, so like all this stuff was new to me. For me, it was like, that's cool, because like these things is like, wow, man, somebody wants me to be in the Detroit Doll Show. And that was like my first opportunity to go out to like a show and see what that was about, but I didn't understand. I had no knowledge, of it, and then I'm taking all these pieces and cost and I'm like, they cost X amount of money, and now I'm listening to people here, so like the prices on it are even more
expensive.
Expensive. So I'm not even thinking. So when I get there and I'm finding out, like I'm seeing like the whole community, I'm seeing people making clothing for the dolls. I'm like, oh wait, this is a whole doll thing. What I'm doing is like closer to like fine art. So from the but that let me see like what was being done. Like there is like that community existed outside of Facebook. It was like, okay, I can see what you're doing here. And after that, like it let me like be able to think and scale back some things, like, oh, you know what, if I want to make this on a smaller scale for affordable thing, it started bringing that to me, like, wow. Because that was my other thing, is like I just felt bad that I wanted to be able to make things that were affordable for my people. So like, how can this happen? And seeing it there gave me an idea, because I could see what they were doing. There were us coming in there, spending their dollars. But I'm seeing the little girls and what they're getting, seeing the little boys coming in. It's like, wow, what could I do? What could I do? And keeping that in the back of my mind, like, what's going to be my plan there? How can I do that, but not in a way for where I'm trying to make money off of it? It's how can I do it where I'm making an impact
Mm-hmm.
And if
Yeah.
it just so happens that I make money, that's fortunate. But where can I come up with to make an impact that I don't see anybody else
Else doing.
doing,
Right. Mm-hmm.
without crapping on us. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's a
I
fine road
understand that. Yeah. It
because
is a
everything's
fine line.
competition. It's like, no, how can I not crap on us, but do better than what I see?
Right. Exactly. And also, I think keep the integrity of what it is that you do.
Yeah.
I think that's really important too, because you do come with, like you said, the art doll type of business,
Yeah.
but that stuff can still translate over to something that is bigger. It's on a bigger scale, and it gives more children an opportunity to be part of the work that you do and create.
Right.
So that's really pretty cool. So I know you said that you did your own, you learned how to sculpt on your own. And I will just tell you, some of the pieces that you do are amazing for somebody who's been self-taught. You
Thank
have
you.
work like James Baldwin and Maya Angelou and Harriet Tubman. I think the one that I loved the most was W.B. Du Bois. He is like, when I look at him, it's just like I can see him. Feels like I could have a conversation with him because
Oh,
he
thank you.
looks so real. And I know you have these little setups called conversations. Tell me
Oh, yeah.
about that, and why you created something like that, because I think they're so powerful. I mean, just to think about having conversations with these people, just is just amazing.
The conversations, the conversations came up from, like I said, everybody had a dollar or a figurine. So I know, like, when people see these things, they automatically, connect with it because of that aspect of it. But what did we do with these things? We imagine it. It's our imagination,
Hmm.
was really set these things in motion when when we were kids, and we had them. So my thing is, okay, I imagine a conversation between, I have all these people, I put them
Hmm.
on a bench. What would they be saying to each other? What would the conversations be? Because I'm going across all these different things. So it started off with Basquiat and James Baldwin.
Mm.
And now I have W.E.B. Du Bois and Langston Hughes.
Mm.
And
Nice.
matter of fact, I have W. Du Bois holding a watch in his hand, showing it to
Mm.
Langston Hughes. So it's W.D. Du Bois. So the base of it is W. Du Bois, however everybody pronounces it, telling Langston Hughes what time it is. What is that conversation?
It's time, my man. It's time. Okay.
So, and I know people, when they look, everybody has their own perception. When they look at art, everybody is what they perceive. So
Hmm.
whatever
Yeah.
the conversation is, it's in that person's head, and they can imagine it. And that's the part
Mm.
about my work, is like, you connect to it. It's not just touching. It's
Yes.
literally, it makes you think, and and those of us who haven't disconnected from our imagination, we can
Hmm.
let our imaginations run wild and imagine what these people are saying. And I know that for a fact, because with the first one, with the Basquiat and Baldwin, there will be people that will imagine, they would say what they were imagining James Baldwin was saying to Jean-Michel Basquiat. And it
Wow.
would be funny because they would do his voice and everything, and it was like they would say what it is, and I'm
Hmm.
sitting there, but I would hear the end of it. I wouldn't hear the whole conversation. It's like they say whatever it is, the last thing that he's saying to him, and you're sitting there like, "Wow, you played that whole conversation out in your head."
Wow.
So that's how I knew. I was like, the response is like that. So, and and then I would see, that would be from my people, but then it was the white people when I see them respond. And I think the craziest one was this white lady. She was sitting there. She just started crying, and she
Mm.
was watching it. And she was crying, and she was like, I'm sorry for crying." Like, we crying. She was like, "This is so beautiful." She was like,
Mm.
she said,
Wow.
"It shows us how far we've came, but we still have so far to go." And I
Wow.
was like, wow.
That's powerful, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
anytime you can have something that opens up or allows people to start a conversation, especially when it comes to race, um, is
Yeah,
powerful. You
yeah,
know, and I
yeah.
think they look at it differently because it allows them to have that conversation that it's for some people they really want to have the conversation, but they're scared and they don't know how to start it. They don't want to say the wrong things. but your dolls open up that space for them to do that. And that is just what is so powerful and inspiring
Yeah.
about your work. And I think that's why it hits people the way it does, you know, and why so many people are attracted to what you do, because it gives them an opportunity to look at these historical figures and icons and and have that conversation, because they figured, you know, you created it, so you have something to say, and they're seeing it and they're thinking, wow, I have something to say about that.
Yeah.
And because it's dolls, it allows them to speak,
Hmm.
you know?
Exactly.
And I think
Exactly.
it's so cool. It's just so
Yeah, it
cool.
invites them in.
It
It's
just
like it's
invites them
inviting
in.
you, it's
Yeah.
inviting to feel comfortable because
Yes.
there's no trauma to it. So
Right.
you're not automatically in defensive mode.
Exactly.
So and that's why I say like my work doesn't have any well not but majority of it you won't see anything trauma.
Hmm.
Um Even I have a four little girls piece, but it's not a trauma piece. It's like
It's a
that
beautiful
I'm working.
blend.
So,
Yes.
so I want it
Hmm.
to be a beautiful piece. And the thing is for me to like to be clear and say like, look, I'm not saying none of our work should have trauma in it. I'm saying that my job is after the trauma. The other people to give us the harsh
Hmm.
realities or remind us of the harsh realities that we had to
Hmm.
face.
Hmm.
They are needed, and they do such an excellent job at that.
Right.
I do not have to. I don't have to add on, to it.
Right.
I'm the one they pass the baton to say, okay, after we made it through that, look at us. Like this is where we
Hmm.
are now. So to bring you and uplift you,
Hmm.
but you still have the discussions.
They'll have the discussions. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but
And that is so
everybody's in a
cool.
calm place, and then but you feel good when you see us. You can
Hmm.
have the discussion, and when you walk away, you're not you're not
Traumatized.
tense or yeah or angry
Or
or
angry. That's so
or
important.
like it's like it's like I diffuse that
Yep.
without people knowing it, because it's like I said, these things are presented in a way that takes them nostalgic,
Hmm. Yes.
or makes them so they can like we and they literally like I said, I've had many discussions, especially with white people, where they see things and they say things, and there are things they'll say to me that I'm pretty sure they would not say
Hmm.
out loud. And oh, but there was one lady that said to me, she said, your work really makes me look at black men and see the difference. I can see the difference. It makes me take a real look at them and see the difference in features that you have, the difference in complexions that you
Hmm.
have. It She was like, I'm sorry if I'm offending you by saying that, but I just wanted to let you know that
Hmm.
it makes me really see you.
See you. Oh my God,
Eh,
you know how powerful that. Well, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just powerful.
yeah. When you hear it, like to say it, like this is the best I tell you. It's like you have no like. There's a lot of things that I've seen. I've seen one guy. He just kept crying because he was just. These are white people. Like the black people. Like I said, we feel good. Some of us get educated. Some of us it's just when they come in, they feel good because they see us and they
Yes.
see it's me. And I'm not
Hmm.
trying to push nothing on them. I'm just letting
Right.
them be and talk and explaining who these people are, education, or they educate me, or they see someone
Hmm.
they thought they could tell me about a story one time or what year it is, and blah blah blah. We can do all that. The white people is like some of them are going. Like one dude was just crying. He's like, dude, I'm just crying because when I like art overwhelms me. When I see good stuff and it's
Hmm.
overwhelming, he's like, you just got a whole lot of this going on here.
Yeah.
And he just kept tearing up, and he was like, that's how I get. And what's funny is I seen it happen to him, and I finally did it to one of my brothers now, so now I can see like I was like I got both of us, I got both sides now. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. So
because
gorgeous.
it's like it freaked me out the first time, but then I got it. It was like there's been a few times where I've seen things visually that just made me, just tear up because it
Hmm.
was like, wow,
Hmm.
this is captured, this is beautiful. This person executed their vision
Right.
and I get to see it, and it just brings a tear to my eye that it's possible. So that to be in a space where now I'm the person making the
Now that
tear,
person who's doing that. Yeah.
it's like I know the power, and like that's why I say like with me, most people go, "Oh, the money." It's like no, 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 no. For me, when I see that, that lets me know of the responsibility that I have now that I can't put on everybody else, but I put on me, because if I am this person setting this trend, not trend, but setting this template for for others, I have to do it with the utmost respect, and love and genuineness I have for my people. And I have to keep operating the way I did when I first started this. Was I made this for me, and we connect, because it's us. So it's still made for you, but I didn't make it like what do you think? What do you want to see? I made these things like, this is what this is what I see, this is who I have love for, this is what it is. And I know that we're going to connect because we are connected already. So we're going to connect. So cool. My people are thought of when I make this, but not to that degree of trying to get their attention.
I get that. And speaking of beautiful people, you got some behind you. Can we take a look at them and see who they are? Is that Miles Davis?
Yeah, I have Miles Davis.
You did an amazing job with him. He has a kind of face that's very hard to capture.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that
really does.
the Miles,
I've seen a lot of Look at that.
Wow. Glasses are
so cool.
Glasses come off. So he has like that intense that intense look.
I love it.
But
and they're articulated, right? How articulated are they?
Fully articulated.
Nice.
That was the thing about it when I made them. I said I don't like the statue thing.
Yeah, that takes a little bit different than figurines, so it takes it to a different level, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I said I wanted to play off the what ifs, like these things don't exist, so it was like, wow, this is a figure. So I wouldn't tell people right out like they were figures that could move. It was like this for that. The fun thing is when they look at it, they're thinking it's just a little statue, and then I go, oh yeah, and they move, and they go, what? And it's like, yeah, they're figurines that never existed. I want you to be able to have that experience and interact with the piece, you know, besides just looking at it and taking pictures. Of like a person, you can pose them any way you want, because there may be a specific way you want to see it. And it's just like I said, it's that cool extra element is like, oh, this is a figurine I composed. Wow. But this was done for exhibition.
Oh, okay.
And what it was, I was doing with another artist, and her name was Athena Astria. And what she does portraits. So, but this is what I talk about when I say, what are we doing? We were coming up with people to do it. She said, I got a Miles Davis. I said, you got a Miles Davis? Wow, now I have to make a Miles Davis. I've never made Miles Davis before it. So I was kind of intimidated by it. And what was crazy was I had him confused with someone else. I just can't remember who it is now, because now I made him. So when I started going through my references and looking at stuff, I'm like, oh wow, I'm seeing that's when I really saw how tense his face was. Because I had a whole nother person in my mind. And I said, wow. And I was like, I hope I can capture him. I hope I can capture him.
Oh, you did. You captured him brilliantly.
Thank you. She said it. She said it. She's like, man, that's Miles. And I said, wow, I got it on the first try. Because I'm I repeatedly go over. She said, yeah, I got it the first try. But what's crazy was when I started going through this stuff, like I said, I had to go to these people and pretty much connecting with these people, because most majority of people aren't with us anymore. So when I was going through his stuff, that's when I'm seeing. I'm seeing him with Cicely Tyson. And I'm like, wow. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I said these things. When I said that made for me is like, yeah, because I'm learning. I'm literally learning my people and learning what happened when I make these things. Because, like I said, they're not being picked to say, oh, I'm trying to target you. I'm literally picking things when I'm making them. So I'm going and learning about these people. Well, I don't have to do it for all of them, but these historical pieces, I have to go and look up things and look at them speak, or look at quotes they said, or connect with them. I have to connect with them, and I start learning more and more things I didn't know, or just little bits of information that to me connects to, like I said, when I see Cicely Tyson, I know Cicely Tyson. So now it's like, oh wow, this is crazy. Like I never knew about this.
I think it helps you to bring that essence alive into what you do.
Yeah, it was like Cicely Tyson actually made him more important to for me to make sure. It's like because of her. It was like my respect for her, because I didn't have a depth of knowledge about Miles Davis other than beyond like what he did, and it made me go and have more respect for him because of her. So it was like, okay, let me find about it and make sure I capture him right. So it's weird. It's like oh, you don't know about, yeah, I knew Miles Davis, but there's another person from our history that like I connect with.
Right.
So the respect and love for that person made me happy. Like maybe even want to know more about this person. And we have a lot of that with our history. It's like it's all connected in some sort of way. So I'll go through this stuff just like I'll do James Baldwin, I'll do Langston Hughes, and then I'm sitting there like, did I just step into like the Harlem Renaissance? Like then it makes me go look at the Harlem Renaissance by itself. Like, oh, look at the women, look how they dress. I think I want to do a piece of just a woman, of a lady back in the Harlem Renaissance. It's
so much richness
for me,
there,
it's a richness, exactly. And it's a playground for me because this is untapped things in the way in what I'm doing, that my ideas are limitless. So so for me, there is no, what am I going to do next? It's already set in motion in my head, what I want to, where I want to go, where I want to see. And if I never get to that, it's still so much more over that. It's because I found 50 more other million things. But our stuff is so much of it we haven't been told, that there's so many stories to tell. There's so many people to show. There's so many things that we could show that you'd never be seen, that you think is new, that is not. And we have lore, we have all this stuff. And the best part about us is, like I said, they have history and all that, and they have superheroes. They've created these superheroes, which is a whole new thing of lore. It's just pretty much equal to Greek mythology and all that. We haven't even scraped the surface of that, and we don't even have to, because we had superheroes that we literally can show, which is why I show Harriet Tubman, because she's a superhero. And then I have Harriet Tubman, a demon slayer, which is what a guy did. He took Harriet Tubman, took a superhero, and just made her a different type of superhero. But she's still Harriet Tubman in that story. She's not like superhuman powers. He just made her the same fighter, except he put swords in her hand, and she fights demons. But it's like, okay, you took our history and you breathe that lore into it.
So speaking of Harriet, let's check out Harriet.
This is Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer. And like I said, the reason I chose her is the reason I chose her was because
I love that face.
I was doing a Black History Month art exhibit, and she has everything. She has like the straps, the boots.
No, so cool.
The bandana, and she actually has two heads. One's like with a more fierce face.
Yes, I think I did see that one. I did see that face.
For me, it was, I wanted to show, like, I have a bunch of male pieces and they're like just there, but for women, I show like the fierceness and like the fight. So it's but for this piece, I was doing a Black History Month exhibition, and I had Langston Hughes in there. I had Malcolm X, I had Maya Angelou, and I was like, you know what, man? This is the part where I go to, okay, this is the norm. Let me do something out of the norm that like no one would expect. And I saw this guy had did Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. I said, man, that would be a cool action figure. So I just made it. And then I told him, I said, look, man, I'm doing this art show. Can you just send me like the comic books so I can show people like this is not something I made up. Like this is something that exists. And I'll display them with the thing. So he sent me like 2 copies of them, and I displayed them with the piece. And like I said, for her, it was, like I said, this the idea of, look, we don't have to go make up a Superman or make up a Wonder Woman. Like Harriet Tubman is Harriet Tubman.
Exactly.
But dude, you figured out a way to take Harriet Tubman and make her, you put like that little extra thing there, but she's still Harriet. It's all the same storyline. It's just you figured out a way to like breathe that little bit of extra lore in there, and get and like just give a new twist to a story. So, but when I saw it, I said, you know what? How can I make it my own? This is another thing I do. I look at things and I go, okay, how can I redesign that? How can I, pretty much like how Batman used to look with a gray and black suit. And then in the 90s, he went to they came up with this black outfit and the long ears. And it was like, that like blew my mind. That made me go, wait, I can take something and change how it looks and make it, look even more cooler. So when I looked at the Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, I was looking at it like, oh man, it's already a dope design. All right, how could I make it look like if I could take it and put like me into
Stamp
it.
on it, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why like she has like this cape and it flows. But I made sure like the bandana,
That's
the scarf, she
definitely a signature piece
understand.
of her.
And I wanted to be real. I was like, it has to be real. I didn't want to sculpt that. And I actually just wanted to have like the straps and all that. You
Who
know,
makes
just
your clothes? How do you get clothing done for
this
your pieces?
this one is one I like. I took stuff and made it from scratch.
Really?
Plus, I had like pants. The pants I think I already had, but I had modified them. I took like I forgot what I made these from. I got material. I ordered it off online now. So I sewed all of that up. Like so, this one pretty much was like built up from scratch by me. There's a few pieces that I like me myself were like all me with on the like sewing machine and everything. There's only like maybe 2 pieces that I've done that with, and that's this. And I did a commission for somebody. I did a Will Ferrell elf for this lady because the guy was like her father passed away and like it was real important to her. So I was like, you know what, I'll do it. And I made his jacket like from scratch. I did like I got the fur, I put the fur on the collar, and I did it like I said, I do this all in like one shot. It's like pretty much how I work with all art. It's like if I see it, I go, you know what, I can make that.
I can do that.
And I just reverse engineered sewing patterns. I was like, you know what, it looks like this is how this comes together. So I draw it out, and then I made my own sewing pattern, and then I sewed it back together. It's real weird. It's like I said, it's like but I'm like this.
It's just how it works for you.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. She's one of them that I did that with, and when I showed it to the guy, the creator, he's like, "Wow, man, like that's crazy that you did that." So, and I was like, I'm just happy. Like I respected what he was, his material, and stayed close to it. And
Very cool.
very happy with that. This one is one of the 4 little girls.
Oh.
I don't think I showed this one before.
No.
This is Addie Mae Collins. This is the prototype.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Another one done from scratch. Another one she done completely from scratch. But the thing with why I chose her first to work on was because she has a real hair. It's real hair.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. The reason I chose her first, and I said I put her in the window, is because this is like I know this girl. Like when I grew up, this is the little girl that I saw, like the hair, the complexion. Like I figured I'd do her first because there's more little girls that identify with her and see themselves, because the others have their hair all done up and hers is like the more natural. And so I was like, I want to start with her and then I'll do the other 3. So so Addie Mae, so the Addie Mae Collins, like I said, this was crazy about this one. I had this in the window, and one night I'm sitting there and I hear, oh my gosh, I hear this young voice go, oh my gosh, it's a young male voice, oh my gosh, that's the little girl from Birmingham, Alabama. And then I hear him start explaining like what happened to Birmingham, Alabama. And then I peek around the wall because they didn't see me anywhere. So I peek around the wall, and it was this young white kid, teenager, explaining to the other white kids he was with who she was.
Wow.
But the thing that floored me was his response to seeing her and hearing him start explaining. And then when I see who it was that was explaining, it's just wild.
It's so overwhelming,
Yeah.
So cool.
But it gives you hope. You know what I'm saying? That's what gives you hope, because it's like their younger generation is not the same. They're interested in our history the same way we are interested in our history. What was crazy is like he knew her name. Like when he saw her, he knew automatically who she was, and was why a lot of people ask me, why a lot of my own are like, who is that? And it's like, but that's my job to tell you who that is.
That's right.
So that's it. So that doesn't bother me. Like to put that in perspective, that, like I said, it gives you hope. It's like, wow,
that's so
okay, cool. Our history is not completely ignored
or dead, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And he knows her.
And he knows her, and he knew about her. And the
about
thing is
her,
that he was able to tell that story to other people.
Yeah. And none of them are like, we don't care. They all were listening. And you're like, and I was looking at it, I was like, wow. It just blew my mind. It blew my mind.
So I know you create so many dolls and so many people that you spend time creating. What doll that you created has inspired you the most, and which one has challenged you the most?
I'd say